David, it's always so difficult to analyse a game in the immediate aftermath, particularly one as intense as Tuesday night. What's the feeling now, having had some time to digest it?
Not too different to what I thought. Sometimes, like you say, your views are changed in terms of watching the game back and having to speak so quickly after a 90 minutes, and more often not over the 90 minutes there's a mixture of emotions and up and down, a roller coaster, and that was certainly the case. But as I've said, and as I said after the game, in normal circumstances, a good point. In these circumstances, even one of the two games, two good points on the road, two tough away trips, but would have been a whole lot better if we could have turned one of them points into 3 points, if you like. Not the case. So we are where we are. We know where we stand, and we know what we need to do over the last 3 games.
Yeah, 3 games to go now in our first season back in the Football League. You're in a good place to secure a playoff position at the very least, still in with a chance of automatic promotion. Would you have taken this position at the start of the season?
Yeah, of course we would. And I think it's very easy to reflect on what ifs and maybes, and if this had happened, if that had happened, and it's not the time to do that. And even when that time potentially comes, be at the end of the season, you look back and the football has lots of variables, lots of things outside of your control. It's never perfect, unfortunately. What we are is we have to stay in the moment, and we're in a good place. We know that we still have an opportunity that if we win 3 games, in my opinion, then we give ourselves a shot. But ultimately, well, either way, you can't do that unless you win on Saturday. And there's still playoff places up for grabs. As I said after the game, one team's going to miss out. So again, we have, I suppose, different sort of strings in terms of what we need to do and where we need to get to. Our sole focus is trying to win on Saturday and taking care of our stuff, and hoping that results elsewhere increase that optimism in terms of where we can finish come the 8th of May.
It is 10 games unbeaten now, 1 defeat in the last 17, which is quite remarkable in such a competitive division. When you look at the late goals on Saturday and Tuesday as well, that speaks to a real resilience in the squad. Yeah,
well, I think late goals, and we use it as a sort of KPI really, in terms of they're things that over the course of the season at times can split the difference between successful and unsuccessful teams. The ones that keep going right till the end, whether that be in salvaging points, in terms of finishing games off, or in terms of turning games round. So to, like I say, to be able to do that it is really pleasing. Not great on heart rate, blood pressure and grey hair, but in terms of us going and getting points, and like I say, it's a minimum that we'd expect from each other, the group in there, the fact that regardless of what happens, we'll keep going. But it certainly gives you, as a group, should give them lots of confidence moving forward. But it's something, like I say, we expect anyway.
Concern for Carl Wootton on Tuesday. You said he was due to see a specialist. What's been the result of that?
Yeah, so we're going to have a meeting this afternoon just to, I suppose, have a chat really around where things are and what happens next. The frustrating thing, I suppose, well, not frustrating, the fact is he's pretty asymptomatic in terms of what he looks like. So I suppose rewind 20 years, you sort of, you treat what you see, and if we didn't have scans and stuff, we'd be looking at him and going, there's not a great deal wrong with him, he sort of feels fine. There's obviously a slight issue within his knee that we need to be cautious with, and we need to take advice, and the advice comes from lots of different stations, which is why this afternoon we'll have a like I say, a Zoom meeting with the various people involved that need to be involved, and make a call on what happens, and whether that's something that we know what the risks are in terms of, and he knows what the risks are in terms of what might happen if he was to play. We know what the potential consequences of that might be, what surgery might look like, what the rehab time and processes within that involved are. So there's lots of, like I say, unanswered questions at the minute that we need to know for certain before we make a decision around the next steps.
If he was to miss out, that would obviously be a big blow. But on the flip side of that, I suppose a big opportunity for Tanto and for Stretz, both of whom seem to impress on Tuesday night.
Yeah, like I said, exactly that. One person's disappointment, and it's not just one person's disappointment. If Woods is out, it's everyone's disappointment becomes another person's opportunity. And we have a squad, and I've chosen to go this in terms of the depth of our squad that can hopefully cover for important players, as what Woods is missing out. So yeah, they'll get chances. I've got real confidence in what they bring to the team. Bring something different, don't get me wrong, but I think it showed on Tuesday in both cases that they're more than capable replacements and more than worthy of a place, whether it be starting or whether it be coming from the bench.
And just on Ryan Rochdale, is he likely to be available for the weekend?
Again, we're probably 50-50 in terms of where he's at. Just as a precaution, I had a scan yesterday. Nothing too significant in terms of damage, but it's one of them ones that just needs to settle. And settling can be anything. Can be hours, days, weeks. Everybody's different. So again, as frustrating it will be, we have to approach that one day by day. I think one thing's for certain, he's going to be back sooner rather than later. That be that Saturday, be that the following Saturday. I'd expect him to be available pretty soon. But we have to, like I say, we have to make sure he's right. I suppose we have the luxury, if you like, of being able to make changes down that side and it not affect us too significantly in terms of the type of profile we've got there with Miles playing on over there. So fingers crossed he's back, but if he's not, then we won't be too far down the line.
Just looking ahead to these final 3 games now, obviously each of the sides you come up against have something really tangible to play for in terms of Rochdale and Hartlepool, obviously battling to stay up, Orient looking to wrap up the title. Makes life difficult, but at the same time, as you said on Tuesday, it's the kind of games you want to be involved in at this stage of the season.
Yeah, the games at this stage of the season, in most cases, one of the teams has something to play for, and they become more pivotal. You need to look at Saturday from a Rochdale perspective. They know that anything but 3 points means that they've lost their Football League status, which this club knows can be really damaging and can be tough to react from. On the flip side of that, we know that from our standpoint, although not mathematically, if we don't get 3 points, then I think the top 3 is gone for us. So lots at stake on the game. You look at then take that forward to the following week, same sort of scenario. Maybe not as much. Like I say, I think it's only a matter of time before Leyton Orient are crowned champions, be that through their results or be that results elsewhere, because teams around them have to play each other. And then the final game, I suppose that will be dictated to by what Hartlepool and Crawley do this Saturday in terms of that game's a huge game in the how the table looks down the bottom. One thing's for certain, in all of them, we definitely have something tangible, as you say, to play for. Being that a top 3 place, being that a playoff place, being that a home advantage in the second leg of a playoff, whatever it might be, we want to finish. And as you say, we've got this run going. We want to make sure we finish the season strong. We finish the season with 3 wins. If we can't finish the season with 3 wins, make sure we don't lose any of those games. But that won't change our approach to them. We're going to go and try and win all of them. And hopefully winning all of them will get us into a position where everyone will be happy. And regardless, be it top 3 or be it playoffs, some more exciting games to look forward to.
Jim McNulty is very popular as a player here at County, Wembley winner in 2008. Difficult circumstances that he obviously inherited at Rochdale, but although it may have come too late, he certainly seems to have galvanised them a little bit, made them more difficult to beat. I think it's just 1 defeat in 4 since he took over.
Yeah, difficult or free it. You can look at it in different ways, really. I think when they made the change and Jim Bentley left and obviously Jim took over, there was probably an acceptance then that they're in big trouble and there needs a miracle for them to stay up. And what they've done is almost opened up a little bit and played a little bit more freely, with, I suppose, the less animosity in the ground, certainly when they've played home games, because the fans there were baying for a change. Go back to when we played them. They've got that change now, so they've got that they've wanted, so they have to support or back what they've got. And they just have played a little bit more freely. Probably pressure off a little bit. With that comes the point, though, that they need to win 3 games out of 3 to have any chance and need results to go in their favour. So there's that hanging over them. At some point, if they don't win a game of football, then they're going to be part of a team that gets Rochdale relegated. And that brings with it a different pressure. Like I say, they have gone back to, I suppose, playing and being risk averse and trying to pass and play through the thirds and be open and be expansive, which they have been for years, even going back to when they were in League One and Murph was there, who I know well. So they'll be tough to play against, but like I say, we have our objectives in terms of what we need from the game and how we go about it. We have to be and will be at our best when we're front foot, so that's not gonna change. The place will be a sellout, as it is our last 2 home games, and we've got to make sure those 9,000 plus of our supporters are right in the game and give them everything to get on our backs in a positive way about.
And just finally, the club have obviously secured the use of the railway end for these final 2 home games as well. You've spoken previously about controlling the variables that you can control, and that's something, a little thing that can make a big difference.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference in terms of, like I say, in terms of atmosphere. More often than not, when we play at home against teams that maybe don't bring as many supporters, that end's empty. So to have the ground full, and listen, I think Rochdale will sell out their allocation, and Hartlepool certainly will do when they come. So you'll have 1,000 away supporters looking to create that atmosphere. But for us to have our supporters at both ends, like I say, just makes it that little bit different. I think it's something that in the long term, in terms of the club, it's something that the club certainly want to try and push forward. There's difficulties in terms of logistics of how that works, but we've got to make sure we take advantage of that over these last 2 home games and make it a special ending to the season for us.
Appreciate your time, Dave. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.